ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. It is time. It is Sunday night or probably Monday morning / afternoon. And that can only mean one thing, and that means it's time for another episode of the RageSelect podcast right here on RageSelect. I'm Jeff.
I am Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce is back. Bryce, I noticed that you have your camera today. You have like a bookshelf behind you now that wasn't there before, and it's got the RGB behind it. It looks very nice.
Thank you. It was a kind of a spontaneous redecorating. We'll talk about it a little more off the air, but thank you. I'm glad it does look nice. I've got a gamer shelf. I joked I have a gamer bookshelf now.
Yeah.
Gamer bookshelf.
You look like you're ready to make a video essay about like why Dark Souls 3 is the least overrated Souls. You know, just one of those, something along those lines.
Yeah. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm all right. I got a lot of weird. You know what? I really don't like talking about this because I know that a lot of the people that listen to us do not live here in Austin, Texas. But it's been February and I've had my fucking air conditioner on for a week and I hate it. I love jackets and scarves and hot drinks, and it's like summertime over here.
It's almost 80. Yeah, it's almost sundown. It's going to be 80 again this evening. It's beautiful. I love it.
I hate it so much. It's like we just skipped over when we had like one really cold day and they were just like, that's it. You've used it all up. Yes, but enough region-specific grousing about the weather. Yeah, I feel like we've got a very strange podcast this week because last year we had a lot of like themed episodes, and this year it's all just been potpourri so far. So,
yeah. I mean, the beginning of the year is always a little tough, right? Some of the news is a little slower. We're kind of near the end. It's going to be a little more speculate. Well, it's kind of a silly season for video games.
Yeah. Yep. It is indeed. But let's see. Before we get into all that weird news, I tried really hard to watch something this week, but I've been playing that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 game a lot. But right before we started recording, I watched the first 2 episodes of this new show called Common Side Effects on Max. Do you know what this is?
That name sounds slightly familiar. What is that?
It's very weird. It's a new show from
medical drama.
Yeah, it's more like a thriller. Like it's like this kind of hippie guy that finds this mushroom that just cures all illnesses in a real weird and psychedelic fashion. What I didn't know is it's like at least partially produced by Mike Judge. So this is kind of like the new Mike Judge show.
Okay.
And it's
because I'm looking at it. You've pulled up images and it kind of looks like an Adult Swim cartoon.
Yeah, it looks like a comedy, or it looks like it might be something, like satirical, but it's very weird. It's very like conspiratorial. It's got a lot to say about like big business in the pharmaceutical industry, and most of the first 2 episodes has mostly been this guy with his shirt open, kind of like running from like pharmaceutical mercenaries while the DEA tries to play catch up, and it's really interesting so far. It's very strange. It's got a very like kind of dry affect to it, and then all the characters have these weird big heads. Like they made this kind of the stylistic choice to make everybody's heads, I don't know if they are big or if they just seem bigger or if they just have like tiny arms, but they all look like big babies running around having like this action adventure thing.
Yeah. We would call that stylized.
Yes.
We would call that a theming. I see a kind of a little bit of what is going on. Yeah. It's a cartoon.
Yeah. I feel like when I first saw it that I didn't know about the Mike Judge connection, but that like after watching a little bit of it, this kind of like okay, so I think that Mike Judge has a kind of a grotesque art style, like Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill. There are all these kind of like strange proportions and weird lines, and I think that kind of comes through in a very different way here from his other stuff. But it's really, it's just really interesting, and I also think it's a real big leap to try to make kind of like a pharmaceutical Breaking Bad animated Adult Swim show in 2025. It's a very strange Mad Lib when you try to describe it to other people, and But yeah, I think the first 2 episodes had a lot of promise. I don't know. I'm gonna keep looking at it. They also have these very strange like psychedelic sequences when the people take this mushroom, where you just go into like 10 or 20 seconds of this really kind of weird and creative, like psychedelic hallucination stuff. So I don't know.
And animation is a really interesting medium for like psychedelic trips. Like, do you remember the Amazon show, the rotoscoped one?
Oh yeah,
Whatever it was, but it was rotoscoped. It had Bob Odenkirk in it, and Undone. That's it, and that was very surreal. It had a lot of like, oh, are we in the Are we in the same dimension? Are we on the right plane? Is there a spirits thing going on here?
Yeah,
and that's a lot easier when you can paint, when you can just paint all those effects to begin with.
Sure.
Or even if you with rotoscoping, you have to start with something. But those looks cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's also it's very unique, and I'm a big fan of the unique. Like, I want to see original, like, crazy stuff that's not a spin-off, a tie-in, or stuff like that. And this definitely has its own identity, and it's definitely trying to do something. So, I also watched the entire first season of. Speaking of stuff that's on Max, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have never heard of this show. Have you ever heard of the show Angie Tribeca before?
I do. I have heard of it.
It's really funny. Like, I watched it. I think I watched the first season when it came out, like 7 or 10 years ago or whatever it was, and I just got the hankering to go watch something. And it's just so absurdist. It's such a, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a cop show with Rashida Jones playing the main character, and it's just very like Naked Gun humor, where her and her partner walk into the lieutenant's office, and he says, "Tribeca Giles, take a seat." They both just pick up the chair in front of them and hold it. So,
okay, yeah. What's that streaming on?
That's also on Max. This is just my ad for Max. You sign up for Max with the promo code. I have no promo code.
It's got what you crave. Who has it for you?
Yeah. What about you, Bryce? You got anything is blowing your mind these days?
I've had a lot. It's been a lot since I've been on the show last, but the thing that I really dug lately was the Roottrees Are Dead. The recently remastered / expanded game that's out now. This is like a Obra Dinn-like game where you are a private investigator and you are tasked with creating the family tree of the Roottrees, this like Wonka-esque family of like old confectionaires turned like old money turned new money. And it's interesting. It's set in 96, so that kind of limits what you have to like magazines. There's a basic web search, and it's fascinating. Have you checked this out on the channel yet?
Yeah, I did a video for it. I don't remember if it was a Patreon. I think it was a main channel video. But one of the things I really liked about it that I didn't really realize until afterwards was that you have like a web search, but it's not like they didn't make a fake internet. It's like you do a web search and then the computer just kind of tells you what you found when you did that web search.
Which is really now there are plenty of documents where you are given everything as it was, but there are a lot of times where it kind of narrates your results for you. Like you what is it? If you look up like a very generic name of this Italian restaurant on the big web search, it goes, well, yeah, there's you find a lot of these. This is a really common restaurant name. Is there somewhere more local maybe you could search? And then you're like, oh, the local newspaper might have something. And so little things like that kind of bridge the gap between not having anything, just giving you the raw internet, kind of like Hypnospace Outlaw almost does, but that was very cartoony versus almost like Obra Dinn, where so much of that game is implicit and you have to really pay attention to the fine details.
Yeah.
But I really dug it. If you played the original version, because it was like a browser game, this has like an expanded like second campaign that they added. It used to just be on itch.io, and the original version was out for free because the creator had made a lot of the assets with AI art.
Right.
And I guess the game was so popular that he was able to hire this artist and illustrator, get these voiceover artists, and I think that's kind of like a really nice story for a very good like logic puzzle game. I've been looking for something like this. I finished that first campaign in like 10 hours, and that was only like 2 or 3 days maybe. I really dig it. Are you into these like Oberdin style games?
See, I have I want
Yay
to
or
be.
nay?
I
Yay or
want to. I
nay?
want to be. I want to be more into them than I am. The problem is that inevitably, when I hit a roadblock, if I get frustrated for too long, I end up just wandering away and doing something else instead. Like I have a hard time sticking with it when you get really like stuck into a specific thing. Like I think I like the structure of the Golden Idol games better just because they're a lot more focused. And I think that the thing about the Golden Idol games is that you can put together enough stuff to where you can finally get to like you have only two or fewer are wrong, and then you can kind of brute force your way through a lot of it. But
Yeah.
like I liked the Roottrees, but then when we got to the second puzzle, we just completely got stalled and couldn't figure out like what we had wrong in the first like 2 or 3 names that we were trying to get done. So,
I will say, because we're kind of talking about this in very like shared genealogy sort of terms, right? I think what also is helpful to put into the pot, into the cauldron that we're brewing up here is Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds, yeah.
In that you can kind of approach this from a lot of different ways. The hint system, I looked into it. There's a nice hint system where you can kind of get like, what's a basic hint, and then what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? You kind of dive into it.
Yeah,
but that's kind of based off of a rough critical path. But there isn't necessarily any critical path. I finished that first campaign, and there was a whole magazine that I did not even find, like a whole art like publication that I just didn't even look into or realize I didn't look into. And I think there's something about that openness that you don't even find in like Golden Idol. Golden Idol is very linear up until usually the last puzzle or some of the last few puzzles. And then Oberdin, you are kind of going back and forth a lot. But I think you can ordain a pretty vague critical path on that.
Yeah.
Not to say that this is truly open either, but I really dig it, and I kind of got like a really retro vibe with the illustrations.
Yeah. Like an adventure game from like 1998 or something like that.
Like a Flash game from 1999.
Okay.
Like, are one of these ladies gonna like hit on me? Am I gonna get picked up at a bar by one of these like weird blonde blocky looking portraits? But big ups to the Roottrees.
You know what? The thing that I'm glad of more than anything else is that between like Oberdin and Golden Idol and the Roottrees and Outer Wilds, I'm glad that we're seeing this shift in some of these like investigation games to just, throw the entire trash can on your desk and be like, I don't know, man, you figure it out. Like, I feel that there were those Sherlock Holmes games and some of the Ace Attorney games that were very kind of like hand-holdy / one solution, like
very linear,
very linear, yeah. And I kind of appreciate the more open-ended aspect, and I'm glad to see that this genre has gotten enough attention that we're getting more and more entries into it as time goes on. So
yeah, I mean, just I don't know. I can talk for hours about puzzles. I need to have a puzzles podcast because I've been playing these mega puzzle games. I've been playing the fucking Blackjack Balatro, the game that's I've been playing Logic Town. I beat Logic Town.
I don't know what that is.
It's just SAT questions. It's just if SAT questions were Cluedo.
Okay.
If you wanted to play Cluedo with SAT questions, check out Logic Town. They got a lot of furry characters in it.
Oh my goodness.
I could take the SATs right now, and I would do okay on the math portion.
Okay.
You know,
what do you think?
blue butterfly is in the same pond as green caterpillar. You know, like I'm in it. I'm visualizing it. It's like when you get really into Sudoku and you start learning the moves, or chess, and you start seeing the movements. Like, oh yes, if there's a piece here, then it can't be over there. And it's your minority reporting. And we're minority reporting for duty.
This is like the Tetris effect, but with just puzzle games.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully those skills will help you to suss out the puzzle of the news that we have to get into.
I love solving the news.
Okay, let's solve this news. Our first story this week, the first mystery that we have to suss out is that there was a bunch of earnings calls last week, so a lot of this news is coming from earnings calls from different companies, and we're starting off with a bunch of stuff from Nintendo because we had the earnings calls from them. And one of the questions that was asked was kind of about the price of the Switch 2. So we still don't have any like super concrete information outside of that first teaser, and that means that speculation abounds. I mean, this is an industry where people look at like shipping container logos in Grand Theft Auto Online and then like reference the phase of the moon to tell you when the next trailer is going to drop or something. And like,
but it is coming out this year. I mean, it is. I mean, look, they said it was this year. We got to know the price sometime.
Yes, and I don't know about you, Bryce, but I think it's kind of dirty pool to have a trailer in January and then say we'll tell you more in April, and it's like, oh, tell me more at the end of February. Like, don't dangle me for 3 whole months, Nintendo. Come on, just give it to me. Let me know.
I mean, are we gonna forget the past few weeks? Like, Nintendo didn't want to tell you either, motherfucker.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
They wanted to wait till April when everything was ready.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a statement where I'll just read the statement. We'll quote, "We are aware that inflation is currently rising and the exchange rate environment has changed significantly since the launch of the Nintendo Switch in 2017. We also need to consider the affordable prices that customers expect from Nintendo products. When considering the price of our products, we believe that it is necessary to consider these factors from multiple angles. At this time, we cannot announce the specific price of the Nintendo Switch 2, but we are considering it taking into account various points." So that word salad has a lot of people thinking probably around $400. The original Switch was $300 in 2017. Part of this article that I was reading for this is that the Polygon has done this chart where they basically inflation adjusted all of Nintendo's consoles, and that they're tend to be between $300 and $400 depending. So I don't know. What do you think? I think 400. I think maybe 450, like a pack-in or something with like an extra something for 450. But I don't think. I mean, I guess the real question here is: do you think that they could get 500 for a Switch 2 or more? Like,
how much are the OLED Switches?
$350. Switch LCD launched at $300, and then the OLED was $350.
Then I think it'll be $400.
I think $400 is probably a good price.
Because what is going to happen when the Switch 2 launches is, presuming like it is perfect backwards compatibility and there's not a big hoopla about all that stuff, that puts the Switch. I mean, we have to kind of look at what the Apple iterative releasing model looks like, is where the Switch 1 is going to become the lower cost ought to become right, the lower cost Nintendo Switch model, and it's $100 or $150 something. We'll clear them out. Man, don't you love Animal Crossing? We got it on here. Don't you love Mario Kart 8? We got it on here. Don't X, Y, and Z, and then, while everyone's talking about the Switch 2, the regular Switch becomes perfect for children. Hell, make a Switch 2DS version, right? Make one that is really rugged. Give it to kids. It's still only 1080p. It's still only needed to have the, whatever the chip is in it. So I I can see that playing out in a world where you kind of don't immediately toss the value of the Switch. I mean, the Switch is still the Switch is still good. Like, that's a really tough thing here. Is these consoles are really, really well built. That Switch, it's showing its age, but also this is Nintendo. That thing.
But Nintendo's also in a very good position, because if the rumors for the Switch 2 is that we're basically getting a console that can do up to kind of the low end of the current generation / the high end of the last generation, it means that unlike my PS5 Pro, which is a marginal improvement over a PS5, like the Switch 2 could open up a huge library of backwards compatible stuff that you can, or of games that have not yet been ported to the Switch that you can now play on this new console, that like Switch owners haven't had access to in the past. I don't know. Like,
maybe. I mean, what are the games? I mean, do we have Grand Theft Auto on the docket? Is that what you're teeing up here? Like, that's the only, because the Switch was such a huge draw that I think a lot of publishers publish their games with knowing that performance was quite reduced on the Switch.
Right, but like, you can't play Elden Ring on the Switch no matter what. Like, you could play Dark Souls 1, but like, they haven't ported a lot of other stuff. But if you can get the stuff that was high-end PS4, that there's a lot of those games. I mean, they've made efforts for big stuff like The Witcher 3 or like Mortal Kombat in these reduced fashions, or Doom or whatever. But if it's got enough upsampling power that you can easily go in and port a comparable version of kind of those late PS4, early PS5 titles, especially the cross-gen ones, and they'll work on there, you do have access. I mean, like, what about Baldur's Gate? Like, what if you get Baldur's Gate 3 running on Switch 2? Like, that would be a pretty big game changer if you could say, hey, Switch owners who've been playing Animal Crossing, here's like all the games of the year for the last like 4 years that were not on the Switch, and now you can play them. I mean, at this point, like, Sony and Microsoft have been in such a thing that you could see like the Master Chief Collection and Spider-Man 2 coming to the Nintendo Switch in some form, perhaps.
In some form. I would also say, though, that with the Switch, what I just mentioned the kind of iPhone pricing model to kind of compare to.
Yeah.
But I would also like to throw us over to the Steam Deck, which is the most comparable contemporary here for the Switch, right?
Sure.
The Steam Deck is $400 to $550 or $650 with upgrades, right?
Yep.
What do we think a Switch 2 will be in performance-wise compared to a Steam Deck? These are 800p, so these are not full HD displays. 7 inches or so. Some of these have a high refresh rate. But on top of that, they have a lot of heat from the development community to make sure that Wine compatibility and that SteamOS compatibility is really good for these games. So
right.
That controller compatibility and support is there in whatever form it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Where the Switch 2,
It really just depends. I mean, we don't really have an inkling yet. There's been all this speculation, but we really don't have an inkling of how powerful it is. Like, is it as powerful as a PS4 launch? Is it less powerful than that? Is it have they done something with upsampling where they're managing to get like PS4 Pro levels of performance, or Xbox Series X, or Series S stuff, like are they shooting for frame rate? Are they shooting for resolution? Can it do 4K? Can it do it docked? Like, we just don't know very much yet. But with the AI upsample tech, it's kind of all on the table, right? Where
here's the downside. Ready? I'm gonna flip your coin here on this, Jeff.
Flip it.
Let's, because the common response here is that Nintendo focuses on less powerful hardware to keep prices down.
Yes.
That's been their strategy for decades now. And if you were Nintendo, what you could do to make a attractive price device is have a handheld mode that is 1080 or less, is something where it is near Steam Deck, have a chip in it, have an AI upsampling chip, right? Let's say that there's a piece of silicon you can put in these things that would take a 1080 image and make it an okay looking 4K image.
Sure.
Or an 800p resolution image and make it an okay 1080, right? I mean, let's be realistic with Nintendo. That might be a pretty good that might be an okay offer to to less technically involved people, right? Like the only thing I think working against the Steam Deck is that I feel like you have to be a little DIY to do it. I feel like you're going to be a little more tech involved to deal with the Steam UI mess of it all.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know. The thing is that I a lot of people have taken this news to mean that it's going to be $400, although I really wouldn't put $450 off the table. Like, I really think that, I mean, I know that, like, hey, I don't want to pay more. I want to pay the least amount of money that Nintendo has. But by the same token, like, I don't think that Nintendo sales are going to be dramatically undercut by...
Well, what hardware or what do you, like, based on what capabilities you think it will have?
I mean, like I said...
Do you think there's a ray tracing chip in this thing?
No.
Because I don't think there will be. And I think at this point, if you don't have one, prices on those have been pretty commoditized, I would assume. I mean, if they were putting a high-end chip in here trying to do ray tracing, I would be right on board with you. But I feel like they could go so conventional, so conservative here on hardware power that it's not even in consideration. That
I mean, I
don't know.
What I think, to be honest, my money is, like I said, I think they're targeting the mid-range PS4 to late PS4 era stuff. So pre-ray tracing, we're using the AI mostly for resolution, mostly for frame rate, but no additional no additional calculation. Because I think that the way that ray tracing has been, that Nintendo probably looks at that and is like, this is a ball of fucking garbage. Like, it's half the time it doesn't work. It looks smeary. Like, the last thing they would want is to try to end up with like a Nintendo game.
So are you describing ray tracing?
Yes.
And not AI upsampling?
Sometimes, yes. No, I agree. But like, the thing is, I think that some AI upsampling, like conservative AI upsampling, can be fine and can fade into the background, and you may never notice it if you're not like Digital Foundry and you're zooming in on backgrounds and looking at stuff. You can play the video game, and that at the end of the day is more what Nintendo cares about than like, what is the exact... Was it checkerboard? Is it, is it 1440p? Is it 1380p upsampled? Like, I think that all they really care about is putting out something that can tap into that huge library, because I think that they saw on the Nintendo Switch the huge explosion of indies where like that game is that console really opened up to a large indie library, and a lot of indies got a huge breath of fresh air because everybody wanted stuff to play on the Switch, especially at launch. So that's where I put it, is kind of somewhere in the mid last generation. But that's that's fine. Like, again,
but if they do that, then it has to be
400.
It's got to be 400, 350. Like I think there's a world where you go the other way and say, Nintendo's going to try to put out a $300 console this Christmas and, overtake again. Or overtake. That's the wrong. I don't want to use that word, actually. But they're going to do very well with having a very affordably priced new piece of hardware, especially if you can say your kids can still play all their old games.
Yeah.
Right. A thing that Nintendo's never, ever needed to even bother figuring out how to communicate with people.
Right.
You never needed to say, like, you could still your purchases, you remember all those digital purchases you made, like which, get ready for that, motherfuckers. That's gonna be
a total shit show.
A new round of Nintendo's online shit show.
Yeah. Let's see, we had some other stuff to come out of Nintendo as well. Nintendo also in this earnings call said that they were doing a lot of work to try, well, here's the quote, "We'll take all possible measures based on the experience we have accumulated to date regarding scalpers and the like. As a countermeasure against resale, we believe that the most important thing is to produce a sufficient number to meet customer demand, and that this idea has not changed since last year. In addition to this, we are considering whether there are any other measures that can be taken to the extent allowed by laws and regulations taking into account the circumstances of each region. I mean, this has been rumored for a long time that the reason we haven't heard about the Switch 2 is because Nintendo's just been like producing the shit out of them so that they can just flood the market with them, so that there is no real secondary market. That, like, you know, they're here at Best Buy and they sold out. Next Tuesday, here's another whole shelf of them, and they sold out. Here's next Tuesday, and there's even more of them, etc., etc.
The only thing against that is, like, I think we would have seen more. I mean, we've seen it like in visual now, I guess, but I think I feel like we would have seen more leaks. That would be a very leaky supply chain, I would assume.
Maybe,
but maybe the Switch wasn't.
Yep,
the first Switch wasn't super leaky, so I don't know. But cool. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it is.
I don't know. As a company, I kind of waffle between the idea of whether a company would want it to be like people are always so thirsty to buy your product that whenever you put two of them on the shelf, they take them immediately, versus like, I want every single person in the first week who wants a Switch 2 to be able to walk into any store that they want and buy one of these, even if it means there's still Switches left on the shelf, because those will sell eventually. Whereas if people have their money but they can't give it to you, that's what we want to avoid more than anything else. So
yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. We also got, this is very strange. There was a French website recently that leaked the dimensions of the of one of the Switch 2 game boxes at 5.12 inches wide and 7.7 inches tall. This would be significantly larger. There's like a mock-up here than what a current Nintendo Switch case is, which is already very large for the just one tiny, like 3/4 of an inch by 1/2 an inch cart that is inside of it. So
yeah. Okay, but those Switch cart. Hold on, I've got. Oh no, I took all of the physical shit off of here.
Yeah.
But the Switch cart is still smaller than a DVD case or a Blu-ray case.
Oh, the box.
The box. Yes. Right.
Well.
Hold on. Okay,
no,
I'm going to do some science.
No, it's not. I'm looking at my shelf right now. I'm looking at the top of my Nintendo Switch boxes, and I'm looking at a PS4 box, and they seem to be the same height, or close to. Right. Yeah.
No. Oh, but Switch and PlayStation 5 box, same height.
Yes.
But this is a digipack, but this is a standard DVD case. It's got about an inch higher, so it could just mean that the Switch case will be at a standard DVD height, which was shrunk.
Is this preferable
in the PS3 generation?
For somebody who has a bookshelf behind them with games on it? Would you rather have them all line up by the top, or would you like them to be of slightly different heights so that you know when you put your hand out in the dark whether you're reaching for the Switch games or the PS4
the
games?
Common thing of me reaching out in the dark.
You know, in the middle of the night, you wake up, you want to grab Animal Crossing and take it back to bed, and you kind of.
Well, no, I want to get it and take it out of the case with my eyes closed and pop it in. Yeah.
Yes.
This is dumb.
Okay.
This is dumb.
Okay. I agree. I don't know. I actually saw there was somebody in the comments that talked about there's like an Etsy shop that sells tape, like cassette tape inserts that you can put a Switch cartridge into, and then they have a website where you can basically print out all of the box art and then just put it in a cassette tape
tape wrap. Wow.
Case. So I like those.
Okay. That's cute.
I don't know. You might need to, if you've got your bookshelf adjusted to come right to the height of the Nintendo Switch, you might want to lift it up.
Those people need to look up what 7 inches is.
That's right. That's right.
I know what 7 inches is, but they need to also look.
We also got the specific time and date of the Nintendo Direct that is coming in April. This is mostly just to mark your calendars. So Wednesday, April 2nd, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. 2 p.m. UK time, right early in the morning. I guess the question here, Bryce, is do you think that they're going to do the thing where at the end of the conference, it's like, and they're all available for pre-order right now, first thing in the morning when all the people are asleep? So, or 9 a.m. Eastern when everybody's asleep.
I think they let retailers take pre-orders, though.
Okay.
Or they let retailers like act because they'll probably start to see some of the unofficial pre-orders things, right? All the things where it's like, oh, is the Nintendo Switch going to come out December 31st, 1999? No, you stupid fucking idiots. But at least I think that because the whole thing I'm thinking here, especially when you talk about scalpers, is like if Nintendo just sold these themselves, then this would not be an issue.
Yeah.
But they go through retailers, and then, you could only control what Best Buy does if there's a run on these things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into whatever I'm sure there's a really well argued debate against me in this. And I just want to preemptively give up. Just if you're going to leave a comment on this, I'm waving the white flag already. You are correct. You are more correct than me.
Yes. Or no. I don't. To me, it's I don't know. I mean, all I hope is that Nintendo has done what they said or what has been rumored, and that there's enough supply that we just don't have to deal with it this time around. I would love it if we get past this era of the whole scalper secondary market bullshit, because I do not like it. Yeah. So
I mean, and this doesn't even get into the question of tariffs, the question of, back when we talked about the Switch and having supply issues, that was pandemic related production issues. And is the supply chain back? I don't know. It's 2025 and I'm still not sure.
You're not subscribed to the supply chain Twitter account that tells you the percentage of supply chain that we have now. How much supply chain is there?
And we all go pog when it's at 69% supply chain.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the alternate universe I don't want to live in. Let's see. We also got a potential, looking into the crystal ball. This is from Nate the Hate, which is the person that predicted right before the Switch 2 announcement happened, as well as a few other things, that we're almost certainly going to be getting a Sony State of Play mid-February at some point. Probably second week, probably around Valentine's Day. And normally, I don't know, if it's a slow news week, we'll talk about the leaks, but I think this is pretty well backed up, because one of the other things that happened last week is that with no fanfare or anything, a Metal Gear Solid 3 trailer went up on the PlayStation YouTube channel and went live that has the release date for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remastered, or Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater remastered, and then was promptly taken down with the indication that somebody doesn't know how to manage their YouTube channel, not like me, who's uploaded the same video 4 times this week. So
hey, they got an opening at Konami if you're looking, man.
I think I ended up opening at Sony. So we got the release date trailer, because this got mirrored, and apparently they're not like DMCing it or anything. So we're watching this on a GameSpot trailer. That's a legit website. It's not like, Harry's fucking crazytrailers.com or whatever.
How are you into this? They went with the one game I'm not into. Are you into this?
Okay, well, first off, Metal Gear, one of my favorite franchises of all time. I'm a super big Kojima fan. I love all this bullshit. However, I'm starting. Bryce, do you remember we talked on the podcast a long time ago at the very beginning of the kind of AI upsample thing, and you were like, I don't want to play the computer hallucination of a video game. I just want to play the pixels that are there.
I want the real pixels.
Right.
I paid for 4,000 pixels.
So I'm starting to get a little bit leery of, we remade your favorite game in Unreal Engine 5. Look how it looks in Unreal Engine 5, because they just did that with Ninja Gaiden Black. Ninja Gaiden Black 2, and they've got this Metal Gear Solid Delta, and there's also there was something else I think that I was looking at that was kind of similar to that, where I'm like, I don't know,
the Unreal Gex trilogy remade in
yes. Unreal Engine. I don't know. I'm starting to be like, I don't know if I want this game to look like every other Unreal Engine 5 game. Like, it looks like an Unreal Engine 5 game. And I think part of that is the fact that when they do these remakes, the lighting gets taken over by Unreal Engine 5 Lumen and Nanite and all that stuff, and the ray tracing reflections. And I think that it makes these games look very similar with the way that hair looks and the way that light looks and the way that smoke looks and the way that lights look. And I think that in a lot of ways, when you do that with an older game, it loses a little bit of its identity to this kind of Unreal Engine taking over the God rays and so I don't know, like, this is one of my favorite games of all time, but I'm a little conflicted. Like, I'm obviously going to play it, but I'm a little conflicted. I don't know. I've been talking for 5 minutes here.
I think the kind of I see what you're saying of, like, feeling like there's a look to the Unreal Engine remake game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's some sort of sheen, even in the most, like, accurate games. You're just like, what is it? Like those Grand Theft Auto, definitive remakes. Like, look, I get it. You use the geometry, but fucking what? This doesn't. It just doesn't feel. There's a look and feel difference here, and for especially from the Metal Gear Solid series, which was defined by being very cinematic, by pushing visuals for the time.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder how something like this comes off in a similar way to the Grand Theft Auto, right? With Grand Theft Auto, those games looked in a very specific way, partly because of the hardware limitations that they were on. Metal Gear Solid looks a specific way because of the limitations that it was on and the time that it was in.
Right.
And when you make it, not to say that they need to go uphill both ways when they're coding this game, but if you're running out of the limitations, then you need to really be on the same page about what the image is that you're creating here.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is probably
abstract, but if that comes across,
I think so. I mean, I was kind of having I don't know, you tell me whether this sounds related to what I was saying before, is the idea that, like, when Metal Gear Solid 3 was made, like, Kojima, he was such a control freak. He was so into this stuff that, like, back when you had to bake in all of the lighting and you had to do all of the smoke effects and you had to basically cheat your way into making things look realistic, it meant that all that stuff was crafted individually by artists, and that now you're kind of relying on this kind of engine algorithm to do, where's the light, where's the shadow, where are the reflections coming from? I don't know. There's
still a craft to it, but I get I think if I might punch up your analogy here
sure.
a little bit, it's a little bit like tracing over. It's a little bit like tracing over something.
Yeah.
Right. You've already got the original and you appreciate the original, and when you're tracing over the original, you're looking at text, right? You're not looking at the context and the subtext and everything that goes into creating.
Right.
You're looking at the pixels in front of you or the image in front of you. And so it is a different beast to port a game or to remake a game. And I mean, it is just inherently different than making the game, right? They're not going to change the story very much in, Metal Gear Solid Delta, right? They wrote it 20 years ago. There's only so much they can change in the motherfucker.
Sure. Yeah.
But that also means that there's no part in the development cycle where the story can change.
Yeah.
Where X, Y, and Z, they're just the entire environment is different.
Yeah.
Not to say it doesn't require craft, but it is a different aesthetic thing. Jeff, we're gonna live to see the day where what we're looking at is retro.
Well, no, what?
No, I know what we're looking at, even, which is an HD remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. But
sure.
Oh man, remember when hair used to kind of just bend really stiff? And man, yeah, you used to be perfect follicle simulator. When Snake used to dive right into the golden piss waterfall. Yeah, nowadays they got to, we're gonna be retro for this. So just look out.
I feel like we already are. I feel like we're already seeing that, the PSX, PS2 retro stuff. That I was playing a game called Abiotic Factor last week. That's basically Half-Life 1, and it's like a retro back to Half-Life 1, and I was having a great time with it. I don't know. It's the other thing that could be coming at me here is the fact that I remember when they made Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes and on the GameCube, and it was done by a different director and it had a different engine, and I played it and I was like, oh, I loved it. And as time went on, I gravitated more and more back to just the original as opposed to the remake. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I'm gonna spare you the 2-hour rabbit hole.
Sure. All right. Well, that's good because we need to take a break because we've already been at it for 45 minutes. So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to try to get through as much of this news as humanly possible. So everybody stick around. We'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. And Bryce, you know what that means? It's part 2. We talked about the part 1 stories so much that we're going to have to add a little bit of lightning in here. We're going to have to add a little bit of spicy.
It's not a lightning round, but it's a zappy round.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot of static electricity. It's real cold. Every time you touch anything in your house, it's gonna shock you. You got to get those balls that I got that I put in my dryer, and they make my clothes.
Don't tell me about your balls. Don't tell me about your balls.
No, but they're great.
Doesn't tell me about his balls.
They reduce the electricity.
We go to record my balls, Bryce. You've got to see my balls.
They make the lightning. Yeah, they turn the lightning down. They just turn the lightning down a little bit.
Balls.
Anyway, this is why we have to do lightning round.
This is fast. Is this the right speed?
This is the right speed. Okay, speaking of PlayStation, as we were before we took a break, we now have official confirmation that Forza Horizon 5 is coming to the PlayStation 5 this spring in a move that should shock very few people, but apparently was somewhat shocking to Xbox fans. I don't know. Bryce, does your brain work in a way where you feel slighted if the game that you like if Gran Turismo was going to come out on the Xbox, would you be like, why did I even buy a PlayStation? Why even fucking buy it? What even is the fucking point of owning a PlayStation?
Not in only insofar as if I feel like it's making a live service part of the game worse. I do think there's a part of me that thinks Gran Turismo 7 is held back because it was on PS4. But that's in the past. So I would not be begrudged by this. I am a Forza Horizon 5 owner already, so this is just a chance to double dip.
Yeah, but now you can play it with your steering wheel, right? You were playing on the PC before with a controller?
Before I got the steering wheel. Though when I got the steering wheel, I am excited to see how the steering wheel works on the PlayStation because I could not get that fucker to work on the PC.
Okay.
But I've got a PlayStation steering wheel, but if I use it in the PlayStation, maybe the monkeys will be like, yes, go left.
Mm-hmm.
But Forza Horizon 5 is a good open world game. I think my last criticism of it was that I finished it and I just kind of was done with it.
Once you were done, there was no real reason to keep playing it after you could finish the campaign. So
so it makes me excited to see if Forza Motorsport comes to PlayStation 5, because there you would expect, at least when it comes to parity, the online competitive side of it. Presuming they have or had some sort of crossplay or something, right? That's certainly something that Gran Turismo takes a big deal, is dealing with how the online works and feels, and that would be my only
Okay. Let's see. Another Sony news. I think this was a long time coming, but it kind of came out as like a news story last week. So there was a modder who was basically trying to get Bloodborne running at 60 frames per second on a PS4 emulator, and this was via a patch that first debuted in 2021, and last week Sony finally got around to basically copyright striking the modder to take everything down. They got a takedown request. They took everything down. The strange thing about this is that the code that they wrote to get Bloodborne running has since been directly integrated into that PS4 emulator. So taking this down, I mean, you could still just download the PS4 emulator and run Bloodborne at 60 frames per second. But I mean, I don't know. Like, this stuff comes out and people get at this point people get mad about it. But I'm just like, I don't know, man. What did you expect? Like, if you're doing something like this, Sony has no chill, Nintendo has no chill. Most of these companies have no chill when it comes to modifying their stuff, unless it's like Larian with like Baldur's Gate 3 mods or Bethesda or something. But most of these places get, you know, they aren't interested in letting you dick around with their code in order to make it better. Or whatnot. I mean, in the case of Bloodborne, it sucks because I think we've all been sitting around waiting for some kind of next-gen patch, PC version, Unreal Engine 5 remake, like something for Bloodborne for a long time, especially given that Demon's Souls, which was way less known, got, you know, the Blue Point's full remake. So
yeah, I mean, do you have any optimism that either Blue Point or From will touch Bloodborne again?
The thing that I have hope for is that I think that Sony wants money, and that this is a pretty guaranteed moneymaker for them. I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't been done already. Well, I think I know why it hasn't been done already, because I think there's some weird code stuff. Like, I think that Bloodborne is one of those games where like the frame rate is tied to like the damage model. So it's not just a matter of making it run twice as fast. It's like you also have to like scale back some other stuff to make it run correctly. So, but I personally think there's a recent shakeup in CEOs at Sony. And I think that if they wanted a really safe, like, hey, we don't have a lot of stuff coming out, you could get a Bloodborne remake out in a year, maybe year and a half. Like,
did Sony end up buying Blue Point?
Yes. Yeah, that was a few years back. But I think they're working on something else right now. I don't remember what, but probably one of the, like,
they're on Cludclorn.
they're probably working on one of those 10 canceled live service games that Sony said they were going to put out this year. They said that they were going to be putting out like 13 live service games. So, sure. Oh no, they were working on, I think they were working on the God of War live service game.
Blue Point was? I
think Blue Point was. Yeah, because Studio Bend was working on something unannounced, but I think that we did get notice that they were working on that. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a shame just to kind of see them go after something that is fucking harmless.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. I mean, how many copies of Bloodborne are you even selling at this point?
Right. You probably are selling copies. If you can convince people, like, if you could let people emulate them, fucking update the game so it says, hey, if you're emulating this, please buy our game.
Yep.
And you will get some people to buy it. Like, come on.
But then on the other hand,
don't do the work. Just ask for us. Open your hand. They will pay you.
What did it take? 20 years for Rockstar to put Red Dead Redemption on the PC. Like, everybody was asking for that every year forever, and it only just happened like late last year. So
I still think that was a contract thing. But.
Yeah. Let's see. Another Sony news. We got news of some layoffs. This is in the software development team. Apparently there was a UX group at PlayStation that got laid off, according to somebody posting on Mastodon. It seems like this, I don't know. I don't know if this ties in. I mean, I think that this is just general downsizing as opposed to the kind of like, I mean, Sony canceled a whole bunch of products and are obviously realigning. So probably whatever group this was is getting whatever duties this group had is getting folded into some other unit. That doesn't make it any better. It's never good when people lose their jobs. It just sucks right now, and the suckage is going to continue, I think, through some of this year. So,
yeah, that's awful. Even when it's on the software side team, especially because you would think those people would be getting ready for a new PlayStation.
Something.
Or maybe this is the recoil from the PS5 Pro launching. Now we're in a little bit of another valley before we start ramping up for PS6. I don't know.
You know what? If I could go out on a really, really big limb over here, I have no information whatsoever, but I will say that the PlayStation 5 UI is incredibly over designed. Like, remember all that stuff with the trophies where it would show you like a video of how you would get the trophy and like
the hints?
Yeah, the hints and stuff. Like, I wonder maybe whether there was just like an internal audit of like how much of this stuff actually gets used, and maybe we don't need as many people on the team, but I don't know. That's the limb. That's the real unsteady limb that I'm out on of just who knows.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Speaking of people leaving, this was kind of
Jeff. What are you doing?
I know. But well, this is a weird one because Bandai Namco hasn't been really public with this, because this was discovered in a pension payroll posting that since April of 2024, about 117 people have left Bandai Namco, which is also relevant because Bandai Namco has been out there touting that they had a really good year with Dragon Ball Sparking Zero and From Software stuff. If you read between the lines, they had this MMO called Blue Protocol that was out in Japan and then was supposed to come to America via Amazon Publishing, that was shut down in Japan before it could even come to America. So there's a good chance that with that number, the majority of this might have just been that one team exiting, which they already got picked up to basically by Tencent to basically keep doing this Blue Protocol thing via a subsidiary of Tencent called Bokura. So good luck.
I mean, this is over a 10-month span. Like, 100 and some developers is not a crazy high amount of churn, given.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how many divisions Bandai Namco's pension payroll scheme encompasses. But 117 developers, I mean, that's churn.
Yeah.
That can be churn at a company of their size.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We also found, this was a little strange. 2K Games they announced this online multiplayer game called Project Ethos. It's some kind of like third-person hero shooter / extraction thing. I meant to look this up to see, because I don't remember this being like a thing. But apparently the head of that team was let go.
This is Fortnite. Motherfucker, this is Fortnite.
This is
Tomato Towers. Look at that. This is Fortnite.
Yeah, it's Fortnite.
You put the word extraction on Fortnite. That's not a...
Yeah, it's a very generic version of Fortnite that's also I don't know why developers thought that like extraction shooter was like the fresh new thing. They were like, people play Escape from Tarkov, let's all make a Tarkov alike. And I'm like, God, I hate that. I hate that gameplay. Like, I hate it. I hate this, like, you got to pick up a bunch of shit and then take it somewhere, and it's like, gross. I don't like it.
Oh, is that what this is? I mean, this just, I mean, on one level, it all just looks like TDM to me, but, and they've got like
the heroes.
Generic. Even their big guy is not that big.
Yep.
Did you see him? He was not that big.
Yeah, they're built so that they can all wear skins. Bryce, is that they can't have drastically different body styles. So
Jeff, I'm really sorry, and I'm only like kind of joking. Is this woke? Did woke kill this?
I don't think so. I
don't know. I'm really scared. I'm really worried about putting that into the world.
No, I don't think it's woke. I think we had it at the beginning where I said, "Hey, Bryce, the head developer for Project Ethos is stepping down," and you're like, "What the fuck is that?
What the fuck is that?" Yeah. Okay,
and then I showed you a video of it. You were like, "That's Fortnite." And I said, "It's an extraction shooter," and you were like, and then I went on a rant about how I hate extraction shooters. So it's like you guys put together the Mad Libs of the world's least interesting game. Like there's at least 100 other games that do what you're doing better. So yeah, man. Like if you were 2K, you'd just be like, nobody cares about Project Ethos. Even the name sucks. Like I don't.
Project Ethos.
Project Ethos.
We gotta zap me, Jeff. We gotta move on to this. Zap me. This is so much bad emotion. We need to sue them for how much bad energy Project Ethos has brought into the world. For how much for thing that doesn't exist.
But the game is not canceled. The developers are still working on it. It's not canceled. It's just that the guy in charge, he has stepped down.
Okay.
So now we're giving something. Also, the guy in charge is real weird looking. He keeps looking at me from this news article.
Okay, come on. So much for the tolerant left. All right, next.
Also, there's totally just a Symmetra in here. This is just Symmetra. It's just Symmetra from Overwatch. The end. Okay, that was all I had to say about Project Ethos. Remember that name. It's going to be big in 2026. Let's see. Speaking of stuff getting shut down, I have a bone to pick with Project Evil Verse, but
Resident Evil.
Project Evil. What did I say? Project Ethos Reverse. Resident Evil Reverse is getting shut down.
You can't put words in it. I know and make it a thing. I know. I don't know what this is either.
Yes.
Resident Evil Reverse.
Yes, you do. This is an online dumbass like multiplayer 5v5 hero shooter set in the Resident Evil verse where you could play as Jill Valentine or Ada Wong against like somebody else. I think this might have been an asymmetrical multiplayer game as well where people could be Nemesis or
okay. What the fuck? What the fuck? When did this happen?
Let's see. Resident Evil Reverse was launched. That's a good question. It was on the October of 2022. So, yeah, what? I think it came as like the multiplayer mode for Village, maybe. But then it was available as a separate thing. I don't remember. All I remember is that
were they shutting it down?
They're shutting it down. Capcom has been trying to make Resident Evil multiplayer work for a long time, and it like just never has, because that's not, I feel like, why people go there. I was there for Operation Raccoon City. I was there for the asymmetric multiplayer Resident Evil 3 tie-in, and I was here for this, and they all fucking sucked.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the opportunistic timing of it. Man, this is like just straight up at the fucking Resident Evil 7 house.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I see, horror multiplayer games are super hot right now. If you can get Leon Kennedy, like, yeah, I see it. I see it. This makes sense. I'm looking at this footage. This makes sense, I think.
Yeah.
As much as Dead by Daylight does.
Yeah, Capcom has always, they've had a hard time with this concept, and they need to just either outsource it to somebody else, because they've done this like 4 or 5 times and it never works. Umbrella something. I don't know.
Okay, you know what they should have done? Because it's freaking me out seeing them play in the Raccoon City Police Department, but it's like Jack from, it's like actually them.
Yeah,
like. They should have just gotten like the Counter-Strike models and just in Counter-Strike in the Resident Evil levels. That would have felt more at home to me.
Yeah.
Is if I wasn't shooting zombies, I was just shooting like a fox guy and a dragon lady.
Sure.
And Sonic with big hooters.
Yep.
These are my friends. Instead of like Ada Wong doing fucking backflips.
Yep. It's all terrible, and I'm glad that it's leaving because it shouldn't have been a thing in the first place. So
they're reversing it.
Yes. All downloadable content will be moved from sale March 3rd, and the game is going to be available until June 29th, and then it will be shut down. So,
okay.
Yep. Get out of here. Let's see. Next on the shutdown parade, this one is a little bit more of this one's a little bit more, I think, bittersweet.
This is your black parade of an episode. Is that
yeah,
it?
That's what the news is right now. So Warner Brothers is pulling the plug on Multiverses in a move that I don't think should really... Well, I don't know. Maybe it's shocking to people who don't pay attention to the news just finding this stuff out. But like, Multiverses was launched in, I think, what was it, like 2021, and then it launched in 2022, and then they took it offline after like 6 to 8 months, and then they kept it offline until last year when they brought it back. They relaunched it with a bunch of new stuff, new features, new stuff to try to make it a thing, and it just didn't really work very well. Like, apparently I didn't really play that much of it, but according to this article and according to some of the stuff I've read online, my friend Michael plays it. It was very grindy. There was just a lot of, like, you got to play a lot of matches to unlock somebody. And then, you know, they tried to do like tie-ins with like Beetlejuice, and they added in some other stuff. And I don't know, the whole thing. I think this game could have totally worked as not a live service. Like, that Nickelodeon All-Stars game totally works, totally has a fan base. Smash Brothers 100% works, 100% has a fan base. The fact that this was a live service game, I think, was probably the reason why, or I don't know, probably contributed to the fact that it didn't get as much oomph as some of those other titles did.
Well, and, you know, Warner Brothers has been upside down for the past decade. I mean,
yes.
They've been on fire more often than not. So I'm not surprised that someone said, oh, this really complicated thing that ties in all of our fucking properties hands together to try to make a Lola Bunny fight fucking Pinhead. Like, we're spending time on this bullshit. Make movies.
Yeah.
Go make movies.
Make a Superman video game, for fuck's sake. Like, just don't try to have Arya Stark stab Jake the dog from Adventure Time in the face.
Make movies.
Just go make a Superman tie-in video game and hire somebody. Don't do it internally. You hire somebody that knows how to make a video game, because you guys have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And then every time they do know what the fuck they're doing, they screw it up. Like, they screw up all the wins that they've had over the last few years. This is not great, because one of the big things that's happening here is the last two characters are Aquaman, and I don't know if you read this or if you just pulled it out of your brain, Lola Bunny are the two new characters that are coming in the final season. Yeah.
I almost certainly stole that from the copy here. Thank you, Kotaku.
And then once the game is done, there'll be no new downloads, and the game will be offline, but you can still play it offline if you get the last update. The big problem here is that they had a thing in this game where you could buy character unlock tokens, and there was no limit on what you could buy. No refunds will be offered. No new characters will be added.
Go suck a lemon.
Yep, you wasted your money and eat a bag of dicks. So
character unlock tokens.
Yeah,
is such an insulting string of words to hear. Yeah. I am so sorry to anyone who got stuck in that.
I mean,
character unlocked. Fuck you. What the fuck?
When it launched and it
Gives me the characters on my game. I bought the data.
When it was launched and it was free to play, the thing that would happen is they would rotate which characters were free for anybody to play, and then if you wanted to unlock them forever, you had
to. What?
Yeah.
Rest in piss, Ashley.
Yes.
Fuck it. You know. Good money after bad. Sorry, this one's a bust.
Just to make it a single player video game and put it out. Like, just quit with this bullshit online. However, I will say that head dev of Player First Games had to go online and basically made this statement of being like, there's a lot going on behind the scenes and we're very sorry. The entire team is very sad. Also, please stop sending our developers death threats over this shutdown.
Yeah.
We don't have any control over this. Fucking be cool, you guys. So be cool. All right. EA has did I get these out of order? Hold on. I think I got these out of order. This one should be over here. Okay.
Zap.
EA. So, we had another earnings call with Electronic Arts CEO Andrew Wilson, and one of the things that was up there to be talked about was
they just had that big new game, right? Their amazing new RPG, their big new game.
Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Love it.
Yeah, we played it.
Isn't it lovely?
It had great hair. It had wonderful hair.
I'm still thinking about the hair, honestly.
Hair was so good. They should just license that hair tech out to everybody else and then make their money back.
So they're going to make a sequel, Toot Sweet, right? They loved it. It was a great hit.
Absolutely not. So here's the thing. This is one of those things like with, when Square Enix put out that Tomb Raider reboot, they were like, we expect it to sell like Call of Duty. Okay, Dragon Age Veilguard apparently had up to 1.5 million players, and that's nothing to scoff at for a $70 video game in the year of our Lord 2024.
How many units did it sell? Okay, I guess that's just what they say instead of units. So.
Yes. Well, we don't actually know because
it's
they're
not a multiplayer game, so players doesn't make sense. Just say how many units. Okay,
yes, they didn't say. But when asked on their earnings call about why the game underperformed, here is the bullshit that Andrew Wilson said. Quote, in order to break beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect to the evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Dragon Age had a high-quality launch and was well-reviewed by critics and those who played. However, it did not resonate with a broad audience, or not broad enough audience in this highly competitive market. Now, people are saying that this shared world, who increasingly seek shared world features, is basically saying it didn't have an online component, and that's the reason that it didn't break further into the market. That is what people are taking from what Andrew Wilson is saying. I can see that. I can also see.
No, go with you, because I think I'm going to co-sign you if you're saying it doesn't exactly sound like that's what he's saying.
It could be, but the problem with Dragon Age. Okay, so first off, I know that this Dragon Age game started out as a multiplayer online live service game. It was supposed to be basically a whole online game, and then when they saw the writing on the wall, they took like 2 years to just completely pivot back to just a single player game. But regardless of what Android Wilson over here says, like, the problem with this game is that it is the sequel to a cliffhanger that started 10 fucking years ago on the PlayStation 4. Like, when we played it, Bryce, they were talking to us about Solus. It was like, you guys remember Solus, right? The Dreadwolf? And I'm like, bitch, it has been a decade since I played a Dragon Age game.
But hold on, because Dragon Age fans fucking love Dragon Age.
That's true.
Like, this is a Witcher 3 thing, right? Like, yeah, you started Witcher 3, and you're like, I don't remember what I fucking did in this game. I didn't play the other 2 fucking games.
Yep.
And then you accidentally hit the thing where it said you loved owning slaves. Like, I'm just putting a little pushback on that one.
No, but see, I think that is what this first thing is about. In order to break beyond the core audience, like, you probably had plenty of people who were really interested to find out what happened to Dragon Age, but like, I didn't like Dragon Age Inquisition, and I could care less. And when this came about, I had to watch a 20-minute YouTube video just to fucking get refreshed at what happened in that game. Like, you can make a game like that is not.
You did that.
That is not. Well, you could make a game like this that is not so contingent on being already emotionally involved in the storyline. Like, you can start this from a place that is easier to understand. And I think personally that's the problem with this game. Also, I think they held back their advertising budget and way too late until.
Well, yeah, I mean, I read some amount of this as also saying, like, Yeah, it was, well regarded, but there was not enough shipping, or right. It didn't generate enough fangirling. Like I don't think that I'm being cynical by continuing to think that this is a metric that um that executives look at in one way or another. Like,
Oh, you're saying with shared world that you're talking about like the fandom that spills out of the game into just general online
and deeper engagement.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's a pretty valid reading of the words that are in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think I can totally see where that would be a thing as well.
Because granted, I'm not super clued in with all the same fandom girlies I used to be, but I see a lot more shipping of fucking Arcana than Veilguard
or Baldur's Gate 3.
Or Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, you could fuck a bear in that. Remember? I don't know who you can fuck in this game. Can you fuck anyone? Can you fuck everyone? I don't really know.
I don't really know either.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So I think there were a lot of I also think that there's something that has to be said for the idea that like there are very few franchises that hold their value over time in the face of the onslaught of entertainment that is thrown at us all the time, right? There have been a lot of games out there like Baldur's Gate 3 that I feel like have taken the place in a lot of people's hearts when you wait 10 years to put out the sequel to a game. So you have to rebuild some of that excitement, and that I didn't see that many ads for it. I didn't know, like, part of this is having a main character that is player creatable, so you don't have as much like direct connection. But then I don't know, there's just a lot going on here. So
I would say like what this probably, well, what does it look like when these returns to IP underperform? Because it's one thing if like a studio keeps trying to do new franchises and they don't work, so they have to go back to a tried and true franchise.
Sure.
But if the issue is like maybe Dragon Age, maybe we need to step away from Dragon Age.
Well, they did. I mean, what was it? Dragon Age Inquisition, and then Anthem, and then Dragon Age or Mass Effect Andromeda,
but Mass Effect as well. Or rather, sorry, I said Dragon Age, but I mean, what if we need to step away from like this? It's nonsensical, but it's just a really big black mark on going back to old IP, because it's showing that the shelf life on this IP is probably shorter than all of these acquisitions initially pitched them as. We have just seen so much consolidation in all forms of media, and what's gonna happen is a lot of these franchises being released, and probably another wave of yes, finally Vib Ribbon 2 is happening on Kickstarter.
Yeah,
like there's only we are already saturated on that. We can't keep doing that. So I don't know. I don't know. There's not a punchline here, but it would be strange for 2K, which is EA, which is a large publisher. It has a large backlog of IP, to say, man, this sure thing, which should have been good, also wasn't good enough. What does that even mean? That's a fundamental question then.
I think it means that you can't just I think that this is a lesson that the industry is slowly learning, which is that given the number of games that are out right now, and given what a wide variety of different types of games and different types of gameplay there are for people to get stuck into, that like to really stand out above the pack, you really have to stand out. Like when we were playing Dragon Age and I was playing it in the hand, it was like, well, this is fine, but I don't know. Like there was other stuff that thrills me or that was more challenging or that tickled different parts of my brain. Whereas this is like a mediocre, this is like a pretty good cheeseburger, right? But like, I want something exceptional. I don't have a lot of spare time, and what spare time I have, I want to put it into something that really thrills me. And that game didn't do that. So
damn. Okay. I'm gonna, can I just show us what this rabbit hole would look like? Is the question of, what does it mean to be, a large publisher like EA or Square Enix or Ubisoft? We're seeing Ubisoft's in trouble right now.
Yeah.
One of the few groups who are able to put together, finance a AAA video game, coming to terms with maybe a AAA video game is not only not a sure bet, but is now the risky investment, the riskiest use of money in video games, despite the fact that we just, conglomerated and consolidated everything to hold on to our money in the recession. And now we have all these developers making these huge games that we can't make people want.
Yeah.
And then, people want fucking Balatro, and that was made by one guy.
Yep.
Like, but you're not going to see the opposite, right? You're not going to see all of EA's working capital go to a million different local thunks. It's going to continue to make blockbusters, and we're going to see these big conglomerates either get sucked up by the platform holders because that's the only way they can go up, or they fall apart because they can't. None of them will go, at a, I don't know, target small games at a large scale. I don't think they will.
Like
they could, but there's so much overhead.
Kind of like the Blumhouse strategy, where you just throw $3 million at like 60 things, and then one of them turns into Balatro for this year.
Exactly. But you don't do that with games, because games still take 2 years to do, and you got to deal with game people who don't want to code their fucking game, and you're not allowed to whip people anymore. So,
well, actually, here I tell you what, I moved this story over because it deals directly with what you're just saying. So this week there was an interview with the CEO of Saber Interactive, Matt Karch, who says, I quote, "I think at the age of the $200 million, $300 million, $400 million AAA game is on its way out. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's appropriate." And he talked about how they managed to crank out Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 like in a few years with a medium budget, and kind of what you used to consider the AA space, and that because they were super into it, and they had this very dedicated fan base, that it was a big success, right? Here's another quote. He says, we can make games like Space Marine. You're not going to tell me that it doesn't have a AAA vibe to it. You may say, oh, it's AA plus. It's a solid game. Its budget was a quarter of what anybody else would spend. So I don't know. With modern tools, it might be better when you're not looking at, I feel like a lot of times, I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit here, of they're stuck in an older mindset with this stuff. Whereas, as much as I was complaining about Unreal Engine 5, you can buy Unreal Engine 5 off the shelf and hand it to some plucky folks with a budget and say, take 6 months and come show me what you got. And if I think it blows my socks off, then I'll write you another check for $1 million, and you can come back in another 6 months and show me what you got. And then maybe in that way, we're able to get games that cost a quarter of the budget, but that are just from hungry people with fresh ideas who want to try something, as opposed to being like, what makes money? Fucking Elder Scrolls. Make another Elder Scrolls game. They'll pay for another Elder Scrolls game, damn it.
We're the only ones who can make another, right. The other tough thing with the idea of like a large publisher going and mass investing on indie sized games is like, it's not a salt mine. You can't go into work and produce, go and find ores. You need ideas. You need people who have ideas. You need people who have vision. You need people who have talent.
Yep.
You have to put all of that together. You have to. That thing needs money. All
Creativity
of those
and morale. Morale is the thing. Like, you have to make sure that people feel good about doing this stuff. You don't want them to come in and yeah, you could pay somebody to come with a jackhammer and mine salt. It doesn't matter how they feel. But if you want somebody to come in and write you a story,
people will buy Madden. Like, they'll do it.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's we're starting to get a little bit low. Zap. This is just a brief thing that was a kind of a note for the Dragon Age thing. Apparently, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 sold 1 million copies in its first day and has totally made their entire development budget back right away. Once again, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a difficult game that is obtuse and is hostile to the player. I don't think that the first one has such a reputation that this one I would have predicted would have sold this well in 24 hours. But again, you look at indie team trying to do the thing that they really like, and somehow that has gone through and people bought the crap out of it. So
yeah, that's well done to them.
Yep. Let's see. Speaking of EA, we're not done with them yet because they finally introduced a new Battlefield.
Finally, a new Battlefield.
Well, was Battlefield 2026 was what?
2026.
No, it was 2042. What was the last one? No.
You typed in 2026.
I typed in 2026. What was it called? Battlefield 2042. 2042. When was that? That was 2021.
Okay.
And so it's been 4 years, and they've quote unquote fixed Battlefield 2042. So it's about time to see a new Battlefield. But this was announced with this new thing called Battlefield Labs. So most of this
map creator.
No, most of this is just the Battlefield team doing that thing where they take shots of developers with like code on the screen in a dimly lit office environment, and people talk to the camera about, well, they talked about how Battlefield is now 5 studios, I think, working. It's like EA and DICE and like Criterion, and they're all on board. They're doing different parts of it. But here are the takeaways. One, it's going back to modern day, so it's not World War II. It's not the future. It's just like modern day, modern warfare kind of stuff. 2, I think that they did say it was going to have a single player campaign, so it's going to be some kind of single player campaign, which I don't know. I haven't enjoyed.
Will not be woke.
And I haven't enjoyed. Well, I haven't enjoyed
Check mark.
any of those. I haven't enjoyed any of those in the last like 4 or 5 games they've made. So until they make Bad Company 3, they can all sit down and shut the fuck up. But the last thing that they talked about was this Battlefield Labs, where apparently they're going to be like flying a bunch of greasy nerds out every so often to like play Battlefield online in pre-alpha to give them feedback like in the early development parts, as opposed to once features have been solidified, so they can test out their ideas with real gamers in real black hats with real big headphones over their ears, all lined up in a row on an RGB keyboard like some kind of dystopian fucking Black Mirror episode playing Battlefield. Just days of Battlefield.
The fingers on WASD moving very small. Oh, okay.
All in a line. I hate this video so much.
I don't like this video. Like, it's a fine idea. I'm surprised they weren't doing it before. I would presume Call of Duty or any modern. This is the thing of these major franchise games. You would think they would be in touch with their community.
Yep.
Especially about specifics.
So with Battlefield, okay, you said the woke word. So let's just briefly go back to Battlefield. There was one of them where like they had the trailer that was like a World War II game, and there was like a lady with a prosthetic leg and like a cape. There was a sniper, and the community was like, there were no ladies with no legs that were snipers in World War II. And I think it was DICE at the time came out and said, well, listen, if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. And that was like the worst selling Battlefield on record. And then the next year they tried to just do Battlefield 5, which was just like straight World War II. And everybody was like, yeah, I don't give a shit. and they didn't buy it. Like Battlefield's been on a kind of a downward trend. They Battlefield 2042 where they were like, well, we've got 128 player maps, so 64 on 64 on the PC, and it's in the near future where climate change has destroyed everything and the helicopters can go through the buildings because we didn't test it enough before we sent it out there. And people were like, this sucks, I don't want to play it. So Battlefield has kind of been on a losing streak recently.
Okay, yeah.
So the idea of bringing in gamers to all line up in a row and be like, I like this, I don't like this. I mean,
yes. And also, like, we've done focus tests. Focus testing's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get it. You're saying, like, you're targeting who you're like, great. Good for you.
Is that they've taken the radical step of making the game that the player base asks them to make.
Somebody if the game is good.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right.
Jam, dude.
Or like, nah.
Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of dolly shots. Someone brought in the dolly that day and set it up.
Yep.
And they fucking used it.
And then at the end, they have a little snippet of pre-alpha gameplay. You know what, Bryce? It looks like a generic fucking modern war video game.
It's all glitchy.
Guys shooting, buildings are blowing up, and it looks like Battlefield. There you go. The end. Great.
Glitchy.
Huzzah. We also got real fast. We also got Andrew Wilson, when they were asked when is the next Battlefield going to be out, because they were shooting for some point this year.
Hey, when is that going to be?
Andrew Wilson basically waffled, and the idea here seems to be that if Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out in the fall, then we probably will move Battlefield to like beginning of 2026. But if Grand Theft Auto 6 gets moved, well, because they don't know what GTA 6 is going to do, and they do not want to put this new Battlefield up against Grand Theft Auto 6, which will eat their lunch, to be honest. So which leads directly into the story that Grand Theft Auto 6 apparently is still on track to come out this fall. There was an interview with somebody at Take-Two, and they basically said, Strauss Zelnick said, I don't want to say it's for sure because that's like a jinx, but like we're very much on track to put it out this fall. So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like Rockstar is historically cagey about talking about new stuff. Historically, famously, they don't talk about stuff really until right before it's going to come out.
Yep.
So that's fine. I don't care about the calendar. Yeah, no, I don't care about the calendar. I don't care about the calendar. Zap, zap.
I care about the calendar, but there's nothing I can do about the calendar.
Well, no one can. The sands of the sands will still fall through the hourglass.
Yes, that is true. All right, and now that we're getting over time, let's just briefly wrap up with one thing, because I like to call out Steam when they do good stuff, because I give them a lot of shit. Steam has added something to their to the way that their UI is set up specifically for early access games, and it is a counter. Nobody knows when this goes into effect, but it's this yellow text now under early access that says, note, the last update made by the developers was blank time ago. The information timeline described by the developers here may no longer be up to date. This is to try to warn people without having to do research when they're looking at an early access game that has literally been abandoned. Like, if you're like, the example here is for a game where the developer hasn't done an update in 4 years. This is probably not something that is ever going to get an update ever again. And I like this because it incentivizes early access people to not just kind of sit around, because it's not even like there hasn't been a big code base. It's just there hasn't been an update in X amount of time. So it's just been sitting there. So
I think that's good. I've definitely run into plenty of titles over the past few weeks on Steam where I've seen the early access stuff and gone, that seems fine. It looks like there's still a lot of stuff in here. And then I go to the reviews and they're all mixed because it says like the developers abandoned this game.
Right.
Oh, fuck. I wish I had seen that, because honestly, it is tough in Steam to tell the status of a game like that, right? Like Cook Serve Forever. I was just looking up Cook Serve Forever, and apparently they've like totally redone that game. And you kind of, I don't know, I don't have a good sense of like, that they were able to do that. I kind of like already looked at the way that it was and wrote it off one way. So I almost wonder if there's going to be some way to have people re-evaluate titles as they continue to update in early access.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the things that I really have a problem with the way that Steam's front page works. And I think one of the things that I have a problem with is, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is there anywhere in Steam that gives you like a notification if a game in your library has like a title update, or where you can set like, I would like to see a pop-up or some area. I'd like some area to draw my attention if a game in my library has like a significant update type of thing.
That's a great question.
I don't think it does, though, right?
There is a carousel that will give you updates, but updates are posted by the developers, and those aren't necessarily patches.
Yeah.
But if you go to a specific game, you should be able to scroll through the timeline and see the most recent posts and updates.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
But there's so much work to find that. Like, I don't know. I just wish it was a little bit more fronted in an easier way to know. Like, I keep track of it, but
I think it's the open-ended nature of what early access means, right? It's not like Steam has like a pizza tracker where it's like coding and then doing graphics and then testing and then delivering. Like, it's different for every game, and I think that makes it tough to like. I wonder if the next version of early access has some sort of labels, whether it's, you know, this game is front and center labeled as beta. This game is front and center labeled as launched, because right now that there's a lot of info, but I kind of need a doodad.
Yeah. Some kind of widget, some area in that overcrowded Steam homepage, just be like, give me notifications, and not like what other creators are playing like the games in your library or so. All right. We only went 5 minutes over. I consider that a monumental success. The lightning round is done. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we got a bunch of trailers to watch. Stick around. We'll see you in just a minute. And we're back. And we're in the home stretch, Bryce. We got a bunch of fun trailers to watch, so let's get to it. But before we do that, there was a thing that happened.
Aperitif.
Yes, right before we got ready to record. Apparently, Helldivers 2 on the PlayStation got a PS5 Pro quote stealth upgrade, mostly because they didn't like announce it or, you know, put it out there as a thing. But some testing on Digital Foundry indicates that basically the overall frame rate has been stabilized and some of the image quality has been upgraded with the PSSR, probably with the PSSR upsampling. Really what this seems to boil down to, though, is that when you get into scenarios where there's a lot of stuff on the screen, the original PS5 would kind of drop down into the 30s, and now with the PS5 Pro, you're more looking at like a 45 frames per second instead of 30 on performance mode.
Thank God.
Yeah. I know how.
Thank God. That was at 45 frames. Now we can only get under 45 frames.
I know how relieved you are. That's 15 frames per second. Every second. Like, come on.
Okay.
But
I need a trailer.
Yep. All right.
Damn, I'm sorry. That was great. If you're for the more sensitive listeners out there, I'm sorry for that bit.
I'm gonna put one of those warnings about some kind of something-ophobia that I don't know about. Also, apparently, one of the new things before we get to the trailer, there's one other new thing, and that is that in the latest update, there are now shovels. There's like shovels on maps that people can use to dig in certain places. They cannot be dropped, and it is unclear at the moment exactly what they're totally for, but there are shovels now. So, yeah, you can dig.
You can dig.
All right.
Like a little foxhole?
I don't think you
Maybe we'll have a
can.
hole.
I don't think you can. I think you're just digging
Look, he's
for
doing it right there.
resources. I don't think you want to stay in one place for any amount of time. I don't know. It's probably a video of people showing how this is like the bold new strategy. But
All right,
yep.
zap me up.
All right, here we go. Our first trailer is from Helldivers 2. This is the Servants of Freedom War Bond, a new war bond that comes with the incredibly creepy Mr. Roboto. It's like a mask that is
Like
in
an
the
Ultraman face.
Yeah, it's in the shape of like a human face, so it looks real weird. It also has some new weapons, like a new kind of handheld grenade launcher and a new big laser and some new enemies and a bunch of new stuff. So if you're into Helldivers 2, I'm actually really happy to see that Helldivers 2 has, at least so far, managed to stand the test of time and is still going strong enough to keep getting these updates. So not for me, because I want to finish the video games that I start. But for everybody that wants a forever game, what a great forever game. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Let's see. In other shooting bugs on an alien planet, we got a big trailer for Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 with the Data Vault update that's adding a new chamber to the battle barge that allows you to set basically like challenges, and then when you win them, you can get like badges and new cosmetic unlocks. There's also a bunch of new skins. There's like new Raven skins, and there's some new enemies that are in there. All in all, keeping up with. I feel like there's been a few games like Helldivers and Space Marine 2, and I guess Fortnite was probably the one that kind of started this off, where it's like really just continuing to add content as opposed to just like here's just a skin, but like here's like a new map for the multiplayer.
Microtransactions. Yeah.
Yeah, except that I think they're all free, right? They're all just updates to the game as opposed to having to pay for them. I mean, the War Bond for Helldivers is like a thing, but like all this is all free. This is all just an update to the actual game itself.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Actually, no, there is a season pass that has some stuff in it. But yeah, all in all, it seems like Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is holding up their end of the bargain. So glad to see that they're also working. Doing well. Let's see. Speaking of unforgiving environments, we got the official Arrakis trailer for Dune Awakening, the upcoming MMO survival game set in the Dune universe, the Duneverse as I call it. Showing off a lot of Arrakis, which is just mostly like
There's a lot of fucking sand.
Sand and rocks. Like
a lot of sand and mesas.
Not exactly when you compare it to the last few trailers that we've looked at, where it's like, oh, there's all this action, explosions, and bugs and blood everywhere, and here it's like, ooh, a cactus.
Talk about looking like Unreal Engine, huh? Fuck.
Oh, look, this sand is slightly redder.
This is
red sand.
Turn the visibility down.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. I mean, what the fuck do you even do with that?
I hate this game so much. I hate the modern Dune stuff so much. But that's because it's like one of the few properties where I become a canon queen. This guy's driving a trike on sand. The worms will get you. You can't drive. That's the reason why the Fremen walk. And when they walk with the crazy walk.
Yeah,
so
but
that
it's got treads.
Yeah, but they hear the treads. The worms hear the treads. That's why. Why. So you can't. It's the whole point of the thing is that you can't drive around on Dune. If you could drive around on Dune, they wouldn't need all the rest of this bullshit.
No, they got a reason for it.
Yes,
no, they got to. You got to. We pinch you. We got to. That's why we get the. Oh, you don't have your clicker, and they put a little thing on the collar of your shirt, and it looks like a little scarab.
Yeah,
and it goes click 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 click, and it's like, oh, so you got to have your clicker, man. And what that does is that like a ventrilo. I don't know why this is like a cholo, but it's.
I was kind of curious what's going on here.
That fucking come on, let him have a trike.
Nah, I don't want it. Okay. I don't want it. I mean, again, this is one of the few things where I'm just like, that's not how it was in the books. Fuck you guys. It's my favorite book of all time.
Cyberpunk. There's they just entered Deus Ex.
Yeah. They went to a canyon in their ornithopter, and they've got a bunch of glow globes and stuff down there. So
I'm not seeing massive or multiplayer or online or any roles or really any playing. Frankly, I don't see a game in this trailer, but I'm holding out hope.
This is more like a style trailer than anything else. Oh, we're showing off some locations.
The shield wall.
The shield wall, yeah. That's the rocks around Arakeen that keep the sandworms out. That's how you can have a city, because the giant shield wall keeps it. Because then when Paul Atreides blows it up, then the sandworms can come through. So
just like I'm gonna be the voice here who says normal people got nothing out of this trailer.
Yep. Probably so. Probably so. Coming to PC early this year.
Oh, it is early this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see. We had the Kickstarter for Chernobyl Light 2, which was funded, and now we got a official cinematic trailer. Chernobyl Light was like a game. It came out like in 2021 or something like that. That apparently was kind of stalkery, but a little bit more fantastical. Like there's a little bit more like crystals and mutants and like weird zombie looking motherfuckers in it.
And it was like just on the PlayStation Pass or PlayStation Plus. I want to say a few months ago. So
was it?
It's probably got a little bit of heat from that as well. Because I had not known about this or that it was a Kickstarter thing at all. I had just known about the game Chernobyl Light.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so they had the Kickstarter for the sequel, and now they put out like a full-on trailer. I'm actually surprised the amount of, I don't know how far along it was before, but they've got a fair amount of assets here kind of telling the story about the, the zone and all the crazy stuff. Again, it's a little more kind of like a Fallout or Atomic Heart version of the exclusion zone, a little bit more fantastical with like crazy powers and crystals and lights.
There's like a roguelike procedural element to the gameplay, if I remember correctly.
I thought that was the case in the first one. I'm not entirely sure about the second, but...
Oh, okay, yeah. At least that's what I remember from the very little of it played of the first one, was that you enter the zone, but the zone changes.
They make reference to that in this trailer, so I'd be willing to bet that's probably the case in the second one.
Hey, they never had any mushroom clouds in the zone. That's not accurate.
Well, they also didn't have like crystal mutant monsters that shoot lasers at you, but whatever.
We can't prove a negative.
I watched that HBO show. I didn't see a single crystal monster in there at all, unless you count.
You gotta look between the frames.
What's his face? But. All right, from there, the trailers are a little. We got some better ones coming up, but we also got the 10th anniversary trailer for Dying Light. Speaking of crazy zombies,
what does that mean?
So it means that the original Dying Light came out 10 years ago, and I didn't realize. Okay. The reason for this trailer is because they're having this 10th anniversary thing where they're giving you like bonus XP and there's certain events and some of the Dying Light stuff. But the big reason for this is that they have this new game, Dying Light the Beast, that is coming out this year. And what I didn't realize, because I didn't keep up with the lore of this, even though I really like Dying Light, was that the Dying Light the Beast is the continuation of the story of the character from the first game, who was not the main character in the second game. So yeah, they're really trying to kind of like, this trailer actually has a lot of spoilers of stuff that happens in the first game, but trying to kind of get you reinvested in the story of the first Dying Light, so that people are reminded that the character that they like.
And then it became nostalgic. Fuck off. Like, this is so weird. Is this not weird to you, Jeff?
It's a little weird. It's
a trailer for our anniversary.
Yeah.
What is that? Does that like what it? But you're not. What does a trailer mean? I know what a trailer is. What do you mean?
It's just reminding you that Dying Light 1 was a thing and that it had a bunch of...
What do you mean it's a trailer? It's a trailer for what?
It's more of a story recap, to be honest, and like trying to...
Because we're going to do the 10th anniversary regardless.
Yep.
What do you mean?
Well, it ends with like going into like a very brief like teaser for the beast. So it's, I don't know, man. You got a bunch of B-roll laying around and you want to make a trailer and everybody feels nostalgic and blah 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 blah.
Call
like
your own shit nostalgic after only 10 years. What do you mean?
Hey man, I don't
45 million. Fuck off.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, congrats. But
the thing is that they've already, I think they already had like an enhanced edition, and then they already had like an ultimate edition. So they don't really have. They've already squeezed all the blood out of this rock, and they can't put out something like new. So it's just got to be like, hey, remember Dying Light? You liked that game when you played it,
Aren't
right?
you so nostalgic for Dying Light. Raise a glass.
Let's raise a glass.
Let's raise a glass to every step. I'm sure that's what you're listening to right now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a good game, though. I really liked the first Dying Light. And then they put out the second one. They were like, it's 200 hours long. And I was like, no, thank you. That's too much video game. Let's see.
Is that me?
Capcom had like a thing this week that I only found out about like right before we started recording, and it really wasn't much of a thing. Like it was mostly just kind of reiterating the properties they already had. There was one new thing that they announced that's the next trailer, but the first thing they did, they had a 5-minute kind of game overview about Onimusha, the Onimusha Way of the Sword game that was announced back at the Game Awards?
Something like that.
I think it was Game Awards.
Or Gamescom.
And there isn't a lot more to this than what was in that particular trailer. They kind of talked a little bit more about, what all is going on, and their focus is, it's one of those kind of standard developer things where they talk about like, the setting is in Kyoto. They want to have a lot of historical like callbacks to stuff. They want to have this really fantastic sword fighting action and stuff. They also reiterate a little bit about how Onimusha works, where you're like a samurai that gets this like Oni thing on your arm that allows you to like absorb the souls, just kind of reiterating what the game is about. And then talking a little bit about what was there. There's not a whole lot new here. They did say though that there was a new trailer on the Capcom or on the official website that I went and checked out, and it appears to be similar to what they showed at the Game Awards, but with a lot more blood in it, indicating this is going to be a very violent game. In fact, at one point they note that the trailer will be more or less violent depending on what region you're in when you go to watch it, that like some regions are getting like a slightly more violent version. So
hey, didn't we talk about this, that Japan has got some laws about showing blood now in trailers or something like that?
There was last week there was a story, I think it was about Assassin's Creed, where there's a decapitation mechanic in Assassin's Creed, in the new Assassin's Creed, and that mechanic will be turned off with no option to turn it back on in Japan, where the game is set. So Japan will not have the decapitation mechanic, which honestly made me a lot more interested in playing that new Assassin's Creed game when I learned you can cut people's heads off. So but
there we go.
But this was all kind of a big lead up to the fact that they are re-releasing kind of a semi-remastered version of Onimusha 2 this year. So, which I think they did the first one a little while back, and they put out a trailer, but it's mostly just the cutscenes from the game with a slight bit of like upsampling on them. I think it's good that Capcom is going back, because they've had a lot of properties that they've ignored for a long time, and it feels like they finally got done releasing Street Fighter, Resident Evil games enough that they might actually be going back to some other stuff like Okami and Onimusha. I'd like to see a new Mega Man game. I don't know about you, but
I forgot about Mega Man. It's we're in a really specific period where we're getting to see properties in this industry get a second crack, kind of pre and post like global communications, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. This is really fascinating, seeing these Onimusha games get, because I don't know of them as being good or bad. I don't think of them at all from that era. And so it's fascinating to see like, oh yeah, we're just going to spend a bunch of time with Onimusha again.
Yep. Well, I feel like what is it? We've already hit all of the low-hanging fruit. Like all that fruit is gone. So now we've got to climb up the tree a little bit to find nostalgia in places that maybe doesn't have quite as broad an audience. Everybody knows what Resident Evil is, but a lot of people also have
fucking Mega Man Legends 3, goddammit.
a lot of people have fond memories for Onimusha, the Resident Evil with a sword game. And they tried.
Zelda with the fucking gun.
No, but
Zelda with a fucking gun.
No. I feel like they tried. They were like, we're going to make something like Onimusha with Kunitsu no Gami, and nobody cared. We're going to make something like Dino Crisis with Exoprimal, and nobody cared. So fine, fuck it. We'll bring back Okami and Onimusha and Dino Crisis and all your favorites. And we're all like, thank you very much. Yes, do that.
Yes. That's what you. That's your part of. That's your part in creativity.
Yep.
Your part in the creative cycle is making things. If you're buying the things, then make them. God damn it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm clip farming for you. You can use that one in the clip.
Speaking of Capcom and new stuff, we also got the launch for Street Fighter 6. Mai is now in the game. We also got some of the costumes of the battle arena, the NPCs, and the missions and the moves that you get in the single player. Mai Sharona, from King of Fighters. So, yeah. I'm sure some people are.
Oh, she's not a Street Fighter or she's a King. Oh, okay.
She's an SNK. Yeah. Because they already had Terry Bogard a little while back, who was also SNK crossover.
I see. I like that they're updating the single player. That's the thing that kind of bums me out in Tekken 8 is I finished all the little single player thing that they had, and then I beat all of the ghosts in the ghost mode, and now I don't really have anything single player left to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice thing about Street Fighter 6 is that because they have this open world, they could just add a new area where Mai is a new trainer, and then you go train with Mai. So, but yeah, that's out now. Let's see. We also got, this was actually another part of that Capcom thing, the Capcom Fighting Collection 2 pre-order trailer, which Capcom once again has realized that there's a bunch of their fighting games that people just don't have any way to play, and they'll be more than willing to give you money for them, and they really don't take a lot of time or effort to package together with some rollback netcode and put them out there. This one has, I really should have just got a list. Oh, no, here we go. Right, yeah. Capcom versus SNK Millennium Fight 2000 Pro, Capcom versus SNK 2 Mark of the Millennium, Capcom Fighting Evolution, Street Fighter Alpha 3 Upper, Project Justice, Power Stone 2, and Plasma Sword, Nightmare of Bilstein. That's a pretty good spread. Yeah, I never got into Power Stone. By the time that came out into the arcades, I was kind of done with my arcade time. I still don't know if there's a way to get Techromancer. Is that a Capcom game?
I don't know. Let's Google that.
Yeah.
Techromancer, the 1998 3D fighting game at Capcom.
Yep. Is there
2001 for matching service?
Yep.
Sony ZN DOS.
This was basically a fighting game where you played as like off-brand giant robots from a bunch. So they had like it's not a Gundam, but it's Gundam, and it's not a Macross, but it's Macross. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm waiting for.
Well, Fighting Collection 3, cross your fingers.
Yep. It'll just be that one game since I put every other game in the Fighting Collection 1 and 2. Yeah, I don't know. Capcom, they've done a good job between this and some of the other stuff they put out of just like preserving the ability to play their old games. So, and then that, I think, when does it have a release date? I'm pretty sure it does, but
it's a pre-order, so I would presume maybe
May 16th. May 16th. Yes. So
here we go. Shout out.
Speaking of old stuff, we also got the console release trailer for Macross Shooting Insight, which is a Macross shmup game that is also one of these, like, you're voyaging across dimensions so you can hang out with all of your favorite Macross characters and rescue all of the different Macross singing ladies from all of the different franchises. With a big, like, visual novel where all the characters get to meet each other and have hilarious misunderstandings and yada yada yada.
Very well drawn. The style is fucking very 90s visual novel.
Yeah.
It looks like, it kind of looks like the American joke of Japanese anime from the early aughts.
Yes. It is very generic. Like, I could see those characters, but they are all very generic. I do like this is already out by the time by the time we recorded this. I haven't played it yet, but I did buy it, so we'll probably see it at some point. The one thing I did like is when they were doing this trailer, they have, like, there's a mode, or there's like a special power up where basically the songstress that you pick, like, starts playing like a J-pop thing, and that powers your Veritech fighter up, because that's totally a fucking Macross thing, is having the J-pop lady sing, and then everybody gets more powerful. So,
of course, you've got to have your support character.
Of course, I will say that to look, Bryce, look, you see, this is the group of songsters that you can get. And I don't see stupid Minmay in there at any point in time. Where is stupid Minmay? Minmay from, like, the original Robotech, from the original Macross.
Oh, buddy,
like,
come on.
The first one. No, if they're yanking the nostalgia chain, you got to put Minmay in there, and fucking, I didn't see...
maybe she's not a songstress. Maybe she's a playable character.
Nope, she's a songstress. She turns his Zentradi's hearts to cold ice at the end of the series. I know. Well, no, I'm saying if you're gonna push my nostalgia buttons, then push them all the way. God damn it! Don't just give me shared apple. I want everybody.
DLC.
Maybe so.
DLC.
Maybe so. I bet they're saving it all for DLC.
Apple. Okay.
Speaking of retro, we also got the launch trailer for Abiotic Factor's Dark Energy update, something that I've had to literally stop myself from downloading. This is the survival game that is based in basically Black Mesa with the serial numbers filed off. So it's, if you had made a sequel to the original Half-Life,
it's a Half-Life Lethal Company.
No, it's a survival game. So it's like you build a base. It's not roguelike. You're in a specific place. You build a base. Like you have to sleep and eat and grow crops and stuff. Then you're going out and you're trying to find materials to make it into weapons. So you can, like, penetrate further into the facility. And there's these portals that take you to weird other worlds. It's very cool. Like, I was a little hesitant when I first saw it, and then I started playing it and obsessively played it for like a week and a half until I did everything before this update came out. So,
is it a game you can play solo?
Yes.
Or is it a multiplayer jam?
It has multiplayer, but it totally works as a solo game. In fact, they even took that into consideration where, like, if you're playing solo, you can pause the game, whereas if you're playing online, it doesn't pause. It's very cool.
So this is like a new update?
Yes.
New stuff, new bits.
This is this company, I've been really impressed by them because they have a roadmap that is very tight that they have kept to. Like I knew that this new update was coming out this week because they had announced it. And this is the last update, the Dark Energy update, before in late spring they're just straight up going into 1.0. So they've almost got everything implemented, and then they're going into 1.0, and then they'll do patches and stuff from there. But this is a really solid game.
The system seems pretty big. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it already has this like huge crafting system that's pretty cool, but I don't know.
Neat.
I like it. I like it quite a bit. Let's see. We also got the official cinematic trailer for a game called Lost Skies, which at first I looked at as a kind of slightly generic game where you're playing as a bunch of people. There was some kind of global catastrophe. You were in an ark underground, surviving, kind of Fallout style, and then you like come out once the I don't know, levels are down or some bullshit. And then it's a survival game where you're doing, you're building a base, you're growing crops, you're trying to survive, you're doing stuff. You can do it multiplayer or single player. But then the big thing in this is that once you get to a certain level in the tech, you start building like these airships to kind of fly around, like kind of mobile bases. And there's a lot of emphasis on kind of flying through the air. And all this is fine, but I'm interested in giving this a chance. It's not out yet. There's going to be a demo on Steam Next Fest at the end of the month, but this is being made by Bossa Studios, who made like Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread and like those games. And I've generally enjoyed the games that they've made. So the fact that they're going in such a different direction has me interested to at least give it a shot. Whereas I think I've seen a lot of games with this kind of big machine multiplayer online thing that have seemed a little bit more generic than what I'm seeing here. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this. This is not my jam. I'm watching this trailer and like I'm exhausted watching it. And I don't want to build a pirate ship plank by plank. Come on, man.
Yeah, but you can face off against these giant like mutant bullet hell guys.
Symmetrical masts on my ship. They're not gonna match, man.
So what you're saying is that I shouldn't have you on when we finally play Space Engineers 2, because that also went into early access recently. Yeah, I just find it interesting that it's from Bossa, because their output is nothing like this between I Am Fish and Surgeon Simulator and those games. So
sure,
yeah. Let's see. We also got the story trailer for Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Bryce, I'm actually really interested. I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but I'm interested to get your current take on Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, the game where Goro Majima has amnesia and decides to become a weird pirate captain. And apparently there are also other like weird clipper ships driving around for him to shoot his medieval cannons at in modern day Hawaii. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what type of game this is. I'm seeing a naval battle.
Uh-huh.
Is this a beat 'em up? Okay, these are the beat 'em up ones.
This is the one where this is the one with the third person action, and then you've also got naval combat and a bunch of other chores and shit that you can do. So,
I mean, I'm into it if they do all the goofy stuff in the right way. Like I didn't finish
Infinite Wealth,
Like a Dragon. No, I didn't finish Like a Dragon, and I never kind of got any sort of sense that they were going to do anything about all the crazy video game stuff that they were doing, and I see something like this and I don't know if like, what do you mean he's doing naval battles? No, we don't. You can't mental illness your way through this. I mean, it's one thing if you're fighting in the streets. This man is on a frigate.
Yep. I don't.
So, that's my only thing. Like, what the fuck? What?
At the very,
I agree. What the fuck?
At the very least, I am curious to know what the stupid story explanation for not only like, okay, Goro Majima loses his memory and decides he's a pirate, finds a clipper ship, and finds crazy enough people to go on it with him. Sure,
okay,
sure,
absolutely.
Why are there a bunch of other clipper ships shooting medieval cannons at him? Why is there an underground pirate neon-soaked arena coliseum?
Where are all these other fucking pirates coming from? Is this what happened when we? No, I'm not going to make that joke. Look, I'm interested in what this could be because it seems like they do some fun, wacky stuff with these spin-offs.
Yeah,
and ultimately, I'm not going to ask too many questions about what's going on here.
I mean, it's the Goro Majima game. Of course, it's going to be fucking ridiculous, and like, you know what you signed up for when the man with the eye patch is your main character. This is a Judgment 3, for God's sake.
My only thing is, I can kind of tell that they're showing the very best moments of the game in the trailer, and they're not. And it's not the whole trailer. That's the very best moments, friends. That's math. That's quick maths.
All right. Well, we'll find out in like 2 weeks, like 3 weeks. What is it? When is this? February 21st. So, as of hearing this, 2 weeks.
And Samoa Joe.
Yeah. Let's see. We got the launch trailer for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
After that's come out.
Yep. I just want to put this in here because I think it was a good launch trailer. I've been enjoying this game. I think that it's very unforgiving, and but that makes that is 100% not for everyone. But to me, it makes the enjoyment that much better once you finally work your way into, like, when I started this game, a dude with a stick could kill me in 2 hits, and now like it takes a full 3 guys in full plate armor to even do any damage to me because I've got so much armor and weapons and potions and all kinds of stuff. And I started the game by really digging into that aspect to try to build up enough resources to be able to do stuff. And then last night or the last couple of days, I finally started just doing the story missions, and they're really good. They're involved and they're compelling, and there's interesting characters, and there's kind of moral ambiguity. So I was telling one of my friends today that I feel like if you're looking right now for a video game where you can kind of just get lost somewhere else, which I think is something that a lot of people might be looking for at the moment, this is a pretty decent place to get lost, even as long as you're willing to get past the really harsh beginning of the game. So
the first personness of this is interesting. I've known that this game has come out, and I know that Kingdom Come Deliverance had some shine on it. But every time I've looked at it, maybe it's just their Steam page is really poorly made. But I always just thought this is just a mid. This is just a mid game. This is a B game that people like.
It's
people will. This is like Assassin's Creed. People just let themselves play this. Or is it I don't know. It looks mid, but maybe it's great.
The thing about it is that it's got a
Defend
shitload.
this game for me.
Okay, it's got a shitload of mechanics. That's what the thing about the game is. So there's a crafting mechanic. One of the things you can do really early on to make money is you can craft swords, right? And to craft swords, there's a 3-part mini game where you take a piece of metal and you put it in the forge. You have to move it back and forth to heat it up. Then you put it on the anvil, and then you have to line up your hammer, and you have to hit it, and you have to hit it. You hit it, and then you turn it over, and you do it on the other side. And your guy will start whistling a tune, and if you hit in time with the tune, you get better results, and then you got to quench it, and then you got to sharpen it, and then you get a really good sword. So the thing is that the sword that I'm using in the game was a sword that I got my blacksmithing up and went through that whole process, and that sword kicks a lot of ass. And so rather than just press X to sword, I had to go through this whole rigmarole of finding the materials that I wanted and putting it all together and going through the process and making sure that I didn't do it wrong. And so I got a good quality sword out of it. And then I'm using that sword to kill the dudes that come to rob me. And so there's a mechanic in this game where you get really dirty. And if you wash yourself, you can wash your clothes at any of these horse buckets, or you can go to a laundry. But if you get dirty, and you start to smell bad, and people will note that you smell bad. The NPCs will be like, Jesus, you stink. And if you try to do a mission where you're sneaking around and you smell really bad, the guards will be like, what the fuck is that smell? Wow. And they will come find you and hit you in the head with a mace and kill you to death. So it's that kind of game.
Can we cut the rest of the lineup and you just spend the next 10 minutes describing systems and Kingdom Come Deliverance for me? I'm fascinated by this video game where you can be stinky.
You can be really smelly.
I'm fascinated by the stinky video game.
Yeah.
I get it. It's an immersive sim in a medieval time period, but it's also not Thief. So that's pretty novel.
Yeah, it's just it's heavy with systems, and a lot of those systems are obtuse and they're a little hostile to the player. But what that means is that once you get the hang of the systems, it's more rewarding. It's that thing in video games where it's the harder. Sometimes when a game is really hard, then when you get good at it, it feels a lot better than if it's just go to the next exclamation point on the map.
Get
hit
it?
the
You
X
like
button.
Souls games? Next.
Okay. All right. We got a really beautiful trailer for South of Midnight. This is a stop motion trailer. The game itself has this kind of stop motion art style to it, and this is an actual stop motion trailer that was made with maquettes and stuff. They obviously outsourced this. And it's really cool looking. This is the game from Microsoft where it's kind of the Louisiana Bayou kind of thread magic, kind of Southern Gothic thing. I don't know. The expression on your face makes me think. Are you familiar with this? Or oh, okay.
I'm not, and so I'm watching this trailer. And I'm fucking confused. What's it a trailer for? What am I? No, but I mean, those words. All I follow.
Mm-hmm.
The words.
Okay. It's a third-person action game set in the American South that deals heavily with like Southern folklore and this kind of main character who's kind of trying to her house washes away in a hurricane and she's trying to find her mother, and then you're kind of going through all this stuff. And so I think it's ended up with some really good iconography. I think the team that is making it seem really passionate about it. And obviously, this was like outsourced to some stop motion company that was able to do it, because the level of skill here on display is, as somebody who's done stop motion, this is like
it's a very
professional
specialized
work.
skill that doesn't always cross over with video games.
Right.
If your video game is not fucking Fantasian and it's designed to be papercraft, everyone else is not gonna do it.
Yeah.
That seems cool. Neat.
Let's see. I'm gonna cut a few of these. So we got the.
You can be sleepy. If you don't get enough sleep, you have sleepy eyeball syndrome.
Laika Age Through Blood is launching on the Switch. This is a game that came out, I think, 2 years ago that I really, really like, where you play as like a fox lady that rides a motorcycle. It is a Metroidvania mixed with basically the mechanics of Excite Bike, where
Trials. No, it's Trials.
Oh, or Trials, yeah, where you're riding a motorcycle and you can like tilt the motorcycle up to block bullets and then go into slow-mo and shoot a bunch of guys in the face. There's cool boss fights. I think this is a really underrated game, and now they're launching it on the Switch. It's already on everything else, so put it out on the Switch. So
Laika.
Yeah. Good game.
Is it like a Russian-style story? Is it meant to be like the space dog, or is that just a dame?
Just a thing. It's a post-apocalyptic story.
That's probably the number one question they get asked. I think if I spent 1 second looking into it, I could have found it.
All the bad guys are like birds. Like you're a fox, and all the bad guys are weird army birds. So you can see the little bird guys. Yeah.
Are they eagles?
Let's see. Oh, here's another. They're putting out Magical Delicacy on the PlayStation. This was a game that launched on Xbox that was a cozy kind of going to a magical town. You are a character that uses magic to cook in a town. So you're opening a magic restaurant in a magic town full of magic people. But then it also kind of has a little bit of like platforming to it, where you're meeting characters and you're developing relationships and you're buying the ingredients, and then you get abilities that let you. It's kind of a Metroidvania mixed with a cooking sim. I played a little bit of it when it was out on Xbox Game Pass, and it was very delightful. It's very charming. So,
are we getting over the word cozy? I'm getting over the word cozy. I mean, I get it. I understand it. I have seen the calendar. I know what day it is.
Yeah,
but I don't know how much longer we've got for the word I would put sell shares of cozy.
As a draw, as something that you put in there.
Just, I don't know. I get it. Like the idea of like a feel good, lean back sort of game or what have you.
Yeah.
But I think cozy. I don't know. I think cozy's going to get rebranded soon.
Maybe. They still have the cozy game like showcase at Summer Games Fest every year. So
it's like having Dubstep Con.
Yeah.
No, that's idea.
Speaking of little games that are weird, we also got the launch trailer for While Waiting, which is a game where you basically play WarioWare style tiny mini games while you're just waiting for other stuff to happen in the world. So your character is waiting for things to happen, and then you basically get the ability to kind of fuck with the world in real small, like little mini game stuff. And it's got this kind of nice minimalist style to it that I think is pretty cool. So
it reminds me of. It's a puzzle game in the style of like Station 8 or what is the other thing? The game about being considerate, being Japanese and considerate, where like you're just kind of presented with a vignette and you kind of mess around in it.
Okay.
not unlike a goat simulator, just without a open world.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. And then we talked about this a little bit last week, but I should confirm that it did indeed launch. The Sims 1 and 2 Legacy Collections are out now. These are basically just the Sims 1 and the Sims 2 with all of their expansions that were put out on Steam and work on modern systems, or quote-unquote work on modern systems. I've seen a lot of people on Steam complaining about crashes and such.
They just put out a big update.
Oh, okay.
It seems like they knew they needed a day 2 update for this game. I was confused by this because I'm a Mac gamer, #Mac gamer, and I have known that at least on the Mac App Store, there's been it's not the Legacy Collection, it's like the Ultimate Collection, Sims 2 Ultimate Collection, and I believe that works on modern processors. Maybe I don't have all my information right on that, but I was very confused why this was part of this, because like it's already.
Wait, was it on the App Store? You said it was on the App Store. Well, yeah, but I think that just putting it on Steam just gives you a wider audience, right?
I guess I just assumed it was already on Steam or available or worked in Steam. So maybe maybe that's just a misconnection I don't have here. But
you know what it probably was? It was probably on Origin, and now that they've shut down Origin, or you've seen Ubisoft is doing this recently of bringing stuff that wasn't on Steam, that was locked in their own launcher to Steam, just to be able to cash in on it because it wasn't available there before. But I don't know. I guess
because in my mind, if it was on the Mac, my only being stuck on the Mac App Store is just like, if it was there, it would have been on Steam. Is my thought.
Yeah.
It was like Sims Ultimate Collection?
Well, maybe the idea was that it could also have been. I don't think the Sims 1 was on Steam, but it could have been that the Sims 2 was on Steam, but that this is like all of the Sims 2. Like they might have still had it selling piecemeal. So,
and I do know, and don't leave me a comment on this, I do know that part of the Legacy Collection bundles and stuff was that you did get unlocks for things in Sims 4. Like you got a special outfit or a special doodad. So that would be outside of the scope of whatever I thought about it previously.
I did not know that. All right. Oh boy. Oh, we're over time. Okay. Let's quick. We got
like 10 more stories.
I know, these are just release stories. Xbox Game Pass, February 2025. Yeah, real quick. Big thing here is that last year's Madden is on here, as well as Avowed on February 18th. Also, like Far Cry,
like a day one thing.
Yeah, Far Cry New Dawn, Another Crab's Treasure, Eden Chronicle. It says Starfield here. I guess Starfield went off of Game Pass and now it's back on Game Pass. But anyway, let's see. There was a breakout game that was made by the people that made Bit Trip Runner that was going to be an Amico launch title, which Atari bought all of the Intellivision library back, and they are now putting out this game for modern systems. I watched a minute video of this. I think that the guys that made Bit Trip Runner are a good choice for a kind of crazy breakout game in the year 2025.
I don't know if it's like meant to be like a Breakout Infinite sort of thing, but it looks cool.
Yep. A lot of neon lights, not a little neon lights. So
the paddle and all being on the left is really screwing with me,
as opposed to the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Okay,
I get it.
I'm glad one of these retro consoles has somehow generated a playable video game.
Yes, exactly. Bloodborne Nightmare Cart is getting an expansion when it's done called The Old Carts, which is basically a take on the Old Hunters. They put out a cheeky trailer it's like Fear the Old Carts, which is good. So
dude,
keep your eye out for that.
I love that they're still doing stuff.
Let's see. Platinum Games has delisted Project GG from their entire website. This was supposed to be the third game from Hideki Kamiya. So you had Wonderful 101 and Beautiful Joe, and then there was this game called Project GG that was announced. It was supposed to be kind of like an Ultraman thing. He left the company, and the question about whether that game was still in progress has been up in the air. This has not been officially canceled, but given the fact that it's been completely scrubbed from their website, probably not going to be seeing that anytime soon.
Oh, well, Happens.
Yep. As is the case with Football Manager 25, which has been canceled and moved next year because apparently it wasn't up to snuff. Whatever. All right.
How do you fuck up? Just very quickly.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the answer.
The Football Manager.
No, I don't know. It's
fucking crazy.
No. They said, while Football Manager 25 hit certain targets, the, quote, player experience and interface, unquote, is still not up to scratch. What? For a spreadsheet? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This is like the F1. Like the F1 Manager games, I'm pretty sure they're not going to make any more after the 3 that they just did.
Yeah.
But it's like, you made the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can just keep updating it. You already have the formula for this. I know there's some work involved, but like, come on.
Yep. No idea. Crazy. Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting a prequel manga that is coming out in Japan the same day the game releases, but not in the US until a little bit later. Apparently does not star the protagonist Naoi from the game, but is before that. So
okay.
Nice to see some cross media.
Is that game coming out? Are they still going to make that game?
Yep. I mean, if not, I think Ubisoft is just done for. They've had a profitable game in like a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
Street Fighter 6 wrapped up a fan theory that had been going on for a long time, where Mai from SNK had been talking about marrying what's his name, Andy Bogart, and in their little arcade mode, they had a little ending panel that shows Mai getting married to Andy with all of the Street Fighter girls there as bridesmaids, and it was pretty cute. So,
okay,
there you go.
I like embracing those things instead of just like ignoring them. Like, it's especially for fighting games. Like, who cares? That's great.
Very strange. The Grammys happened, and Winifred Phillips won a Grammy for, this is like a video game score, and this was for the remake of Wizardry. So the headline on this story was why a 43-year-old video game just won a Grammy, because a few years back they put out, or in 2023 they put out this remake of Wizardry, which didn't have a score to begin with, and so this conductor basically created a whole score for it and then won a Grammy for it. So which is kind of crazy, because I don't think I've ever heard the music from that, and they were up against like Bear McCreary and like the Spider-Man 2 guy and Star Wars Outlaws and stuff. So
Assassin's Creed. Yeah, those are all like blockbuster or I don't know what Wizardries is either, but
yeah.
Well, that's neat.
And last but not least, a non-playable GameCube has been sold for $100,000.
I could have hooked you up for significantly less.
This is one of the GameCubes from the reveal at Space World in the year 2000. It does not have a processor in it. It has a light that turns on, and the box is slightly different. The seller online,
there's like a disc. There's a window for the disc.
Yep. The seller online says, what was it? I do not run a shop. No refunds if the console is not to your liking. Like, very explicitly saying this is not a functional GameCube. This does not work.
Also, wait, go back to the top. Go back to the headline of this. This is not $1,000. The GameCube that can't play games on sale for $100,000. Okay, it's an auction. First off, it's an auction.
Yes.
It's not worth $100,000. This motherfucker's not going to get $100,000.
I think they already... Oh, okay.
No.
Approximately $100,000 or
best offer.
Or best offer. Okay.
Yeah, hey, I'm gonna roll up with like 20 biggins. I will give you smackaroonies.
I will give you $5.
Come on, you already got your Kotaku headline. Just give it to me.
That's right. Let me have it. I want it. Let me have it.
Would you call it archival? This is preservation.
Yeah, I'm going to preserve it.
Free headline. Come on
my shelf behind me. And with that, we are done. Bryce, tell the fine people of the internet where they can find you. We're not over here going through the news with me.
You can find me I'm on Blue Sky. If you find me on bryce.marbles.win.
Ooh.
I don't post very much there, but that's the little bit that I post. And then marbles.win, it's a website. It's got information about Marbles. Marbles is going to come back pretty soon. More information to be announced. Thank you.
All right. And of course, patreon.com/RageSelect. It should be noted that it takes a long time to get all these bullshit news stories together and read them all. So if you like this show, kicking in a few bucks, you get bonus videos, you get Discord access.
Kick Jeff over at Patreon.
God, hit me with that lightning, man. I'm ready for the show to be over. Bazow!